I don't even know where the place is.
I don't know.
Is it like a pub somewhere?
Yeah, it's a club.
Should be very.
It's a club. Yeah. It's a big. And everybody will be going
Yeah, it's
from
right
here.
across the front.
Proč se sbírá?
Potřebuješ to?
Ne, ale ještě tady bude poslední přednáška.
There are some, maybe line 6 also, but you know, it's on the same.
Because
One
what
street.
you told me to go from the bus to the hotel was perfect.
Yes.
It was good.
Worried that you will say didn't work at all.
Well, I don't know how many stops I had to do with the shop. So
But it sounds like usually they have.
so yeah, I was really looking at this.
Maybe
next year. I didn't remember. Yeah,
Just a little bit. From here is like a huge 5 minutes.
oh really?
By the
So it's line 1, not even it's between here and
and the center. Yeah, and Chestnut. Yeah, maybe. It's before the park, big park, but you might not remember. But there is the biggest park in Brno. When you go from the railway station, then the next stop is the square, then the next stop is another square, and then there is on the right side there is a big park.
Did we go there last in October?
No.
Okay, because last year, no, 2 years ago I didn't cover every part. But so when are you living? I don't remember. I take the night bus. Yeah, what I found is I can take a bus on the student bus.
So you're doing it.
Yeah, I think
Yes, on the six, and there is no tram from the hotel. I asked the guy at the desk.
Okay.
He told me no, but you can take a night bus at 5:21 in the morning.
Yeah. But it's like it will be at the railway station like 5 minutes before 6. So it's like so, but it's 10. Oh yeah, so that should be fine.
I'm not sure it will be
Tam už scházeli, jo.
No, but the night bus, they all come together to be there at the full hour. So yeah, it might
A
be,
ještě
it might be
jenom
like 20
rychlá
minutes.
kontrola, byly tam ty
But the time
laminátky,
is 50, jo?
tady ty dvě věci a flačka? Dobrý. Není nic.
Yeah, but then it's a spot wait at the airport. I guess I will be back at home. It's shorter than should be like almost 20 minutes.
My flight is also on Sunday.
You're staying
Sunday morning, yeah, staying here. Because the flight is at 10 o'clock.
yeah, my flight is at 10.
And I was thinking 10 o'clock maybe I'm going to take a bus. We're going to stay in here.
Okay, yeah, that's something I didn't know. But yeah, I think we'll probably meet at the airport or something.
So which day is it that you're leaving?
Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
Eight.
Yeah.
It's very It's Petkova, I think the station.
Gutsova, yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, told me 5:21
Yeah, but this should be fine too, because you would still have 15 minutes on the railway station to get, it's like 5 minutes from there. So if I was going, I would probably go. But this is safe. I don't know.
This is
You will wait half an
This
hour.
bus will run late. He will not be able to catch the bus or the train. He will come back and haunt
I
you.
I'm gonna take this one, and if I miss this one, I have this one.
6:10. Yeah. So you will most. That's probably good.
I don't like to eat that birthday. I like to
Yeah.
be safe, you know?
If you miss that, we can accommodate you.
So it's like just 15 minutes from my stop to the main station.
Yes.
Should we start already?
Oh,
I think.
yeah, we should.
Send me an email.
Robisz demo? Tak byś miał mi ten package takový dostali. Měl tam dárky? Já to nemám. To nahlas, že budeš zítra a třeba bys ještě dostal.
I'm not going to do
He's organizing
Don't worry about me.
Yes.
If I need to extend just want to make sure that we haven't had we are not doing.
Jsem měl o půl, že začínal. Jsme se zakecali všichni.
Ale říkal, že to stejně nemá.
No.
I will try so that we would need someone to work on the website full time. Are you doing but only like 10% of my time?
That's funny because what I heard is a completely different story. Like it's one of the top 10 priorities, and might be interesting to figure that out. What it's really going to be. So.
Okay, so let's meet after this also we have time.
I just see you. I'm not going to do 1.5 hours, so don't worry.
Yeah, no, I'm just worried about the guys on the stream deciding not to.
I'll make it happen. Okay, that worked before. It should work now.
Are you going straight from here or?
Good. So far. There you go.
Thank you.
Three guys.
Okay, let's see if that works. Looks good.
You're not going?
Ready when you are.
Okay guys, we have here the last presentation. It's gonna be community in Java EE and Markus Eisele. Do I spell it right?
Pretty close.
Okay, it's on here.
Okay. Promises first, right in front. I'm not going to do 1.5 hours, so this is hopefully going to be a little bit of an entertaining and overall interesting talk for you. What's the thing behind that talk? Before I joined Red Hat, I had a life, I've been a consultant. Most of you know that. So, and one of the real pleasures in that part was that I had the freedom to join the Java E7 expert group. So I've been actually working pretty close with all the standards bodies around Java, and I learned over time with all my conference and speaking engagements that people tend to not know how that works and what to do if they can't join it. So this talk is basically a little how to influence everything for the better, even if you can't play an active role. And This is actually still one of my favorite slides. Anybody an idea what that could be? It's the number of pages in specifications over time. So we started with little under 500 pages of specification with J2EE 1.0 back in the days. And I haven't continued to count the pages with the E7, but you have a rough idea about what it takes to really understand all the paperwork behind it. Even if I learned, and I have to admit that it's not really something that gives you an impression about complexity, because it's kind of a train that just picked up everything that we had in the past, even if it's been pruned by a specification, so basically withdrawn. The documentation is still there, so it's not really physically pulled from the pages. Who's using Java EE? Pretty much half of you, right? So you have a good idea of what's in there, right? So this is the most prominent picture of Java EE as we know it today. So it contains a bunch of three-letter acronyms. Some are a little bit larger, assuming that they have a little bit more to tell. I don't know. Some have names. Technically speaking, Java EE in general is just an umbrella, embracing a bunch of individual technologies that have those fancy little numbers attached to them, right? So WebSockets is a good example. CDI is a good example. So whenever somebody talks to you about a JSR, it's one of those fancy Java specification requests. What's in there in a specification request? It's basically three parts. The fancy X pages thick specification document, and physically speaking, really most of the real JSR have PDFs attached to them. So one good example where we have some more readable formats behind it, it's actually the CDI specification, which is completely browsable on the web. The rest of the specifications mostly are only available as PDF documents, barely searchable, and only a rough download from the jcp.org site. What else is in there? A TCK, so kind of a test kit. It's a little bit more. It's a complete harness that allows to test implementations against the specification. There are many different opinions when it comes to how good those test kits are. Let's assume that every specification who delivers the TCK actually can approve implementations based on successful test runs. And it's kind of a tree that sums up. So whenever you have a server that is certified against EE7, you can assume that all contained implementations actually successfully run those TCKs. Not speaking about coverage when it comes to real specified features, there's no guarantee that there's a one-on-one mapping. And this is exactly one of the reasons why Hibernate might behave differently than Eclipse Link does in some, let's say, edge cases. But anyway. And the third part is the reference implementation itself. So the first working prototype is not exactly it, right? So it has to be a little bit more. It has to be full featured and implemented. You know some reference implementations already. Eclipse Link is one for JPA. What else do we have? We have Welt, obviously, as a CDI reference implementation. There are also some others besides those from Oracle or Red Hat. Apache is implementing quite some implementations for JSRs. The most important part is, how does that all come together? I always wondered how the individual groups working on individual specifications actually talk to each other, and how people make sure that everything gets delivered timely. I mean, we all have heard that E8 is kind of upcoming on the horizon, And we also heard that it might be ready end of Q4 2016. So there has to be kind of a big plan, all right? Is there a plan? Is there an overall project plan? Kind of, right? So the complete governance behind all those specifications is called the JCP, which is the Java Community Process. Any members of the JCP here? Not a single one? Okay, surprisingly. I'm actually still a member under the wings of a German Java user group. So officially as Red Hat, I probably couldn't have joined because Red Hat is a corporate member and we have a bunch of representatives already. So I need to sneak under the community part a little bit. Okay, what's in there in that 3 words? It's Java, obviously. The programming languages, the platforms from left to right. Then we have the community. We'll look into it. And the stuff that is not really interesting is the process. It basically defines the life cycle of specifications, going from early draft down to the final or the maintenance states. It also has some kind of invalid states like withdrawn specifications that turns out to be not interesting enough, or specifications that don't get developed any further. There's a lot of documentation on how that process, the steps, and the life cycle works, so I'm not really going to bother you with that part. Because I want to focus on community and who's working on what, which is the most interesting part. This is a very, very high-level view of the personal. It's an organigram, right? So it's the organizational overview of the JCP. You have the executive committee, which is elected. You have the EC chair. Does anybody know who the EC chair is? Patrick Curran, right? So the head of everything. The executive committee actually is a mixture of individuals, of companies, of Oracle, obviously. So everything supported by the program management office. And this is really an office. So the whole process, the whole JCP thing is a lot of paperwork. The thing that really is interesting and starts to be interesting for us as developers are the expert groups. So for every JSR that you can imagine and that has a number and isn't withdrawn, there is an expert group, or at least has been if it's a final state. And those expert groups have a spec leader and they have a co-lead sometimes, and they have a bunch of experts. What does make them experts? They are most likely people that had to do with that kind of technology in their past, and they have a say in bringing some real-life experience to new specifications. A good example is CDI, so the context and dependency injection specification is led by Antoine from Red Hat. I'm stumbling about his last name. I'm not going to pronounce it here. I'm not French. So, and we have a bunch of experts from the field who are actually contributing their view and their experiences from older CDI versions. And this is really helpful. Those guys have to work in a pretty formal setting. And honestly, it is pretty formal. When I joined the Java EE7 expert group, beside the fact that I've been working with EE and talking about EE years before being accepted as an expert group member, I also had to sign this one. This is at least 2/3 of the JSPA, so the Java Specification Agreement, it's participation agreement. It's a lengthy thing. they are working on it. Everything is going to be better, but what we're looking at as of today is the state of as of today. It's actually a real legal contract that you have to sign. It has everything that you could imagine that we hate as open source developers. It does all the grants on intellectual property, even the eventual ones. Contains all the licensing terms for reference implementations, for the TCK. You're basically giving away your firstborn. And that's not funny. And I mean, it's English. I'm obviously not a native speaker, right? So it's even hard. There's no translated document. So you really have to dig your way through it. And people who did that, who are working in expert groups, are most likely employed by corporations. If they are individuals, then they sign that on their own behalf, right? So when you give away that much, what do you get in return for doing it? This is kind of the official list. What I like to see it is that you gain a lot of reputation out of officially joining JSRs and helping teams develop. And one other thing is definitely also clear. It really helps you to develop, first of all, intercultural skills and other skills that help working together in such formal settings. So it is really, really positive when you contribute officially in the JCP, and beside the one JSPA signature, it's not really complicated to join the JCP. Even if I have to admit that it's a formal hurdle, right? So I didn't really felt well having to sign that document, but if that's done, you're free, so that's okay. From the other angle, everything that gets standardized is kind of, what is Java EE? Is it a standard? It's more like a de facto standard, right? So we don't have an ISO specification number behind Java EE. It's something that many corporations agreed upon implementing. But it's nothing that has kind of a governmental stamp on it, right? So Java EE is an industry standard. It grows by adoption. And the more people out of the industry who are actually using it contribute, the more relevant it will be. This is the other positive side of actually contributing to the JSRs and the individual technologies. Interested in who's leading the JSRs? This is state-of-the-art snapshot from end of 2012. I actually haven't updated it, but it gives you a good idea about who's leading which parts of the specification. So unsurprisingly, Oracle is far in front. We have some real external contributions, like from IBM and Red Hat, obviously. And there are even some combined specs where Oracle is teaming up with IBM. I guess the JBatch specification was one good example. So there was a bunch of stuff involved. Okay. I don't hear you clapping hands, right? So you actually don't want to contribute. Me neither. I mean, it's just, it doesn't feel right. And honestly, there's so much process in it that I think the community is just too small at the very moment. Is there community in the JCP? It's led by Oracle. Most of the specifications, it's very formal, it's a process. There is a little bit of hope. First of all, there are people out there using it. And every specification not only needs to have the expert group email alias, which definitely should be public, it also has kind of a public observer alias that everybody, no matter if he signed a JSPA or not, can contribute to. So you as a user, if you find something really stinky with a single JSR, join that alias. It's most likely public on java.net, on the JSR projects, which are linked from the jcp.org site. Make yourself heard. Sending an email will definitely end up being distributed to all the experts, and I haven't seen a single email that hasn't been answered. First thing to do. What else can real users do? Not much beyond that. You could talk about your technology, and you could try to take that space here for a little while, give a lightning talk about something that really engages you, and hope that other people pick up your opinion, but it's contributing on a very, very tiny base, right? So nothing real formal here. Turns out that there's another effort going on, which is called Adopt a JSR. And this is a real community-driven effort because it's backed by Java user groups all around the world. Okay, real users. Every JSR needs to have some public stuff. All you can see there is up to comments from real users like we are. If you don't like something in the new batch JSR, if you hate JCache, whatever, it's been in the making for 20-something million years. If you're still not satisfied with it, make yourself heard, okay? There should be a public issue tracker, which is more or less usable. Most of the Oracle-backed projects actually require to have a java.net login at least, because their Jira system is linked to that account. Go ahead. I just want to give you a good example of how I like to see every JSR egged, which is obviously what the CDI spec guys are doing. And yes, it's us. There's a public issue tracker on jbus.org. You can decide with what profile you want to log into jbus.org, so have fun. You have a public mailing list. You have the mandatory IRC channel that you could join, and definitely the guys are hanging out there, you know them. They have a Twitter handle, and the complete specification is maintained on GitHub. So it couldn't be much more open than that. This is my vision for all JSRs. There's just one other one, which is comparably close to what we deliver with the CDI specification, which is the JSF spec. But it's not much. We have plenty more specifications, doing better, doing worse. At the end of the day, I guess this is the best way for all specifications, and that's what I'm asking them to do. We'll see what happens. Adopt a JSR is a little bit more about fun. If you contribute as an individual, you're basically on your own. I know that people don't like that most of the time. We need beer, right? So we need party, we need discussions. And this is definitely what Adopt a JSR tries to reach. What they are doing is they are spinning up multiple efforts, community efforts, like hackathons or coding dojos around their favorite and adopted JSRs. So you have a bunch of people interested in caching, and you want to play around with JCache and evangelize that it's great, then you're probably right to look at that web page. It's also hosted on java.net. And this is just an excerpt of all the Java user groups that are already committed in doing some stuff around Adopt a JSR. So you most likely find something near, even if those are the most prominent ones. I'm pretty sure it's initially been launched by the London Java community and SuJava, so to comparably big umbrellas, but there's also the German Cologne jug. So it's a little bit of everything. And if you go to your jugs, visit them, just be aware that there is a way for JUCs to contribute via that adopted JSR program. You can learn a lot more if you visit their website or go to the social media stuff. And this is a fancy little list of things that you could do and organize around your favorite specification. Hack days are my favorite, seriously. We're running, I'm more or less running with a little bit of help of my friends, a conference in Germany which is called JavaLand, end of March. So shameless plug if you want to be there, just tickets are open, ticket sales. We have Hacker Garden, and we're definitely taking care for that adopted JSR part. So we'll have a bunch of guys there that really want to bring their favorite JSR that one step further by providing feedback, by trying out how that works with their implementation cases. So it's a really creative thing. Not really a good example from the adopted JSR. There's kind of a sister program, which is Adopt OpenJDK. I'm focusing on EE here, but the SE side also has that adoption mechanism from the JUC end. And those guys actually, they contributed TCK tests. And that was quite impressive because it involved code. I haven't seen that a lot lately, a little bit, but not that widespread with the EE specifications. But even that is possible. So just sit together, find some test cases, contribute them, and see if the expert group or the implementers actually use them. What I like to keep you in mind is that open standards definitely are something else than open source. And this is good, and it's also something that we really need to remember. So there's no way of directly committing code to any of the JSRs or specifications. It's heavily governed at the very moment, and your best way to reach out and to make things better is actually engage with the community around the JCP via the Adopted JSR program or the public parts of the JSRs. And this also means talking about ways to contribute to those specifications and making them a little less formal and a little more usable. At the end of the day, it makes sure that everything those guys specify that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis stays relevant and helps us. And I think this is really a worthy part in contributing to those specifications. And I really can remember how specifications looked to me when I first got in contact with them. It's just a real huge paperwork and well thought out by people that really know their jobs. So forget that part, drop whatever you have heard, try to be active and make your voice heard. This is most important. My last slide, which is pretty good for today, I guess. Java E8 is on the horizon. So if you really want to try out what I told you today, this is the next big chance to look into and help develop and shape what's upcoming. The timeline is pretty, let's say, cloudy at the very moment, so we'll see if that works, but I'm pretty sure. The reference implementation is shaping up, and my boss Arun actually has a status blog page up on his blog where you can always follow the latest informations and see who's running which effort. Most convenient, he also has links to all the public issue trackers and JIRAs and mailing lists, so just make sure to check back with that page. And the rest is definitely open to discussion. As I said, I've been working in that kind of process setting for quite a while. If you have questions, you could definitely fire at will, catch me at a beer or whatever you want to. But that was the official kind of extended lightning talk for tonight. And we're not going to do under 1.5 hours, I told you. Okay, questions or thank you, and we'll find a beer somewhere.
Yeah.